everyone. We are going to get started for tonight. I think we did send out an email this week, is what I understand from Rachel. So we may have more folks joining us as we move along, but there's no reason to pause any longer. We'll just get started. I do want to let you know a couple of things. One is that I've not put the recipes for tonight on the blog yet, so I'll be sharing the link though. So when you'll want to write down that, and then we'll also send it out via email afterwards. So you'll have the entirety of all the recipes from all 4 weeks. And tonight we are doing Indian food. And when I say we, not me, because you can see I'm sitting in my office, but Hilda, Lisa, and Betty are cooking Indian food for us. Now we have every week, if you've been following the series, it's almost like a little reality show because there's something going on every week that's a different challenge for us to overcome. Tonight's challenge is that we have really good audio from Betty and Hilda Lisa, but the trade-off is they cannot hear us. So they're relying on their studio audience of friends and family to get their energy. And what that means for us is if you have any questions, we have to relay those to someone else. So ideally, if you want to use chat for any questions, that'll be fantastic. And then Betty's husband, Edwin, is kind of the moderator on site. And so we can also, if we speak our questions, he'll relay those to the team. So there'll be a little bit of a pause, just like someone is in another country or whatever. So that'll be fun as we have questions. But as always, let's go ahead and bow our heads for a brief word of prayer, and then we'll turn it over to the cooking team. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity once again to come together and to learn how to cook foods that we may not have considered before, and to learn new recipes and to live healthier. I ask that you will be with the technology and be with our cooking team as they share tonight, and that you will give us a blessed experience. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. With that, I'm going to turn things over to you, Edwin, to cue the team.
When they're finished. Oh, that would be good. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Cooking with Friends, Indian edition. So we are here with Betty, and I'm Hilda Lisa, and probably you already introduced us, but we are going to run through the menu for tonight. But I am especially excited because I have tasted Betty's cooking, and it's amazing. So I have told her before, you have to teach me how to do this. You have to give me the recipes. But tonight, she gets to teach me right here personally, and along with all of you. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, me too.
So we have, I think, about 4 recipes.
We have four different things we're gonna make.
Okay. So in our menu, we have, we're gonna start with tofu curry. And then what are we doing after that?
So after the tofu curry, we're gonna have a coconut rice.
All right.
And then we're gonna do lentils and spinach with tomatoes.
And that has a name,
Dal.
an Indian name.
It's called dal. I'm sure most of you have heard of that, very common. And then we're going to do an Indian coleslaw. Real simple, really easy recipes to follow.
And if you guys could, we have all the ingredients that we're gonna need here. And I could smell so many spices, and the colors look amazing. Hopefully you can see a little bit of that, but you'll see more as we get the recipes going. So we're going to start with the tofu curry.
Yes.
And I think the first thing we're gonna do, and I get to show you this because she gave me permission. So we're going to prepare our tofu, and she's using here the extra firm. Of course, this is the water packed tofu, and we're going to show you how we squeeze it to get all of the liquid out. And so what you do, probably over the sink, but I'm going to use this plate here to show you. I'm going to open the package, And you know, I like to wash the outside of the package before I open it, just to make sure we don't get anything to contaminate our food. And then we get
Our towel.
if you can, yes, thank you. All right, and then we're going to wrap this tofu in a towel. So I wrap the tofu and we probably put it on a plate, but just to show you here, we would put it on a plate and then we put something heavy on it. Now this is really heavy. This lid is cast iron, a cast iron lid, and you just leave it for about 15 minutes.
Yes. The longer you leave it, the firmer the tofu gets because you drain all the water out.
Okay, so that's a neat trick to do. All right, and then once that is drained and squeezed out, then we can cut it into the cubes that for this recipe, we're going to cut the tofu in cubes. And it's already done here. So these are pretty much, I guess, fairly large cubes. And what else do we do with this recipe?
So for the tofu and potato curry, we're going to use the onions. You see the red onions. That's about, it's a large red onion. Then we're going to saute that. And then we're going to saute ginger and garlic. I buy a ginger garlic paste from the Asian store because it's easier than cutting up the ginger and the garlic every time. So it just saves time. And after I saute that, then going to saute these. I think we use 3 or 4 tomatoes. And after that's sauteed, then I'm going to take all of that, put it in a blender and add 10 to 15 cashews, add a little bit of water, blend it up, transfer it back to the pan, add our spices here. We have coriander, chili powder, a little bit of turmeric and garam masala. You can buy that in any of the Asian store, fairly easy to buy. And saute that a little bit and then add the tofu and the potatoes, add 2 cups of water, salt to taste, cover it up, let the potatoes cook, and that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do we get to do that? Put it on
Yes.
the stove now?
Let's do that.
Or start sauteing? All right, and hopefully, I'm sure you can see that, but something interesting about tofu is that, of course, they have a softer kind of tofu, and then they have a firm tofu, and then they have an extra firm. And you know that the firmer the tofu, the more nutrients it has. And when I say nutrients, I mean like the calories, the protein, and the fat. So for example, the protein in a softer kind of tofu, in a 3-ounce serving of tofu, of soft tofu, you would get about 4 grams of protein. But if it's the extra firm tofu in the same amount, like a 3-ounce serving, you would get about 10 grams of protein. So the firmer the tofu, the more protein it contains. Just a little bit of information that I think is useful if you're keeping track of that. And so we are just sauteing.
I'm just waiting for the pan to heat up. If you want it really hot, I had some extra water in there that I had to drain out. So when the pan is really hot, you want to add a tablespoon of oil. So just a couple more seconds. Okay, there's our oil. And then wait for the oil to get hot. Then we'll add our onions.
I hear the sizzle.
Okay, we'll add our onions. That's going to take, just wait for the onions to get translucent, and we know the onions are sauteed well.
So would we add the tofu like this, or do we brown the tofu first?
We brown them, so I can do that in a separate pan because I just started with the onions first.
Okay.
So we can a quick pan fry of the tofu.
No, another way you can brown the tofu or kind of fry the tofu is if you have an air fryer. I really like to use that better because it's I just think the consistency comes out better, and I don't have to
Use oil. Yeah.
use oil or worry too much about it. Maybe just stir it a little bit halfway through, and it's really convenient to use the air fryer for tofu if you have one.
Yeah, so we can add our tofu to the and that just get a minute or two, that should be done. It just firms it up a little bit more.
Let's not get too tangled up in our mic.
And as you can see, the onions have a little, it's starting to get a little translucent.
Yes. So it doesn't matter, we don't have to break them up more?
No, because then I chop them really big because we're going to put it in the blender. So
Yeah.
don't waste any time chopping it fine. Just chop it really big. And again, the tomatoes and the onions. And you can add the ginger garlic paste. The prep work is super easy.
I love the shortcut that we don't have to spend time chopping
Yes.
small.
These are really easy and quick to make.
It's Indian cooking on a time constraint.
Yeah, it can be. It can be very time consuming. So if you can find shortcuts, which I almost always do because I have kids and I don't want to spend all day in the kitchen. So I find shortcuts, and these are some of the recipes that I use. It's easy and tasty.
Yes, I know they're tasty.
Oh, thank you. I think we can add the tomatoes in there.
Yeah.
And that might take a couple of minutes for that to cook down.
So when you say cook down, what do you mean
Well,
by cook down?
I mean for the tomatoes to soften up really good and let the juices kind of come out a little bit.
Okay.
And for most of the Indian cooking, the tomato, ginger, garlic, tomato, and onion, that's the base. You can literally make anything Indian with onion, ginger, garlic, and tomato. And then you can just add whatever else you want after that. That is the base for most of the cooking,
Okay.
those 4 ingredients.
So I guess if we can remember, if we don't remember anything else, if we just remember tomatoes, garlic, onion.
Ginger, garlic, onion, tomatoes.
Ginger, garlic, onion, tomatoes.
And if you can find ginger garlic paste, it'll save you a lot of time because chopping up peeling the garlic and the ginger, it takes up time.
Oh, yes.
Or you can do it ahead of time and keep it in the refrigerator, which is
So where can we find the ginger?
Asian
paste?
store, Indian stores, they have it in a bottle, and a bottle usually lasts me a half a year or about a year.
Oh,
Because you just
okay.
use 1 teaspoon of it or 2.
Okay. So it's well worth
Yes.
the trip to the Asian
Mhm.
store and having it in your pantry.
And you can see the tofu is starting to brown up. So I'm going to turn that off because
Okay.
we're not just doing it just a stir fry. It's going to go into the curry. So it doesn't have to be, it's not going to stay crunchy.
Okay.
The outer part is not going to be crunchy.
It doesn't have to be crispy.
Yes, crispy. Okay, another minute on this and we can put it in the blender.
All right. And I see the onions are pretty translucent.
And you see the juices coming out of the tomatoes. And these are homegrown tomatoes, so it'll make the curry even tastier.
Betty has an amazing garden. She's not only a great chef, but
Oh.
she also has an amazing garden.
That's in spite of me. That's for God's grace in spite of me. The rain God sends helps.
Okay. All right.
So I think, as you can see, it's pretty juicy. I'm going to add the cashews in here.
Okay. We got, and you said about how many cashews?
10 to 15.
Okay.
If you're trying to watch the calories, use less. More cashews gives it a creamier, thicker, richer texture. The sauce will be thicker and creamier.
Okay.
But if you just want to use 1 or 2, that's fine. But I like to use about 10 to 15
And you throw them in the blender?
in the blender.
Okay.
And you can use raw or roasted. I didn't have raw, so I just have the
Okay.
roasted. So I just
Should I count
yeah,
them?
you can put them all in. That's okay.
See, the sign, I think the sign of a great chef is you just go by feeling, and I like to count everything and measure everything. So you can tell that she's the better cook here.
I wouldn't say that. It's just I'm so used to making the same thing over many years.
So should I turn the stove off on this?
Yes, we can turn the stove off, and you can see there's a lot of juice. Hot, is that hot? We'll use a pot holder.
Yeah, it is a little hot.
Get everything in there. There's 1, 2 onions. Okay. And we're gonna move over here, put it in the blender.
I was getting too ambitious in cleaning up.
Oh, well, thank you, Hilda Lisa. And it's blended pretty well. You want to make sure the cashews are blended in well, because you don't want to be biting pieces of cashews. Oh, I prefer not to, at least. We're going to use the spice mixture, the coriander, the chili powder, and the garam masala, a little bit of turmeric, and stir that in. I can smell all the spices that I just put in.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
Add a little bit of salt. And again, salt to taste. And then we're going to cover this up for a minute, let the oil separate, and then we'll add our tofu and potatoes, and then we're done.
Okay.
And then while we wait on that, should we start on our coconut rice?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Coconut rice is the next thing. That's good. All right, so we have our ingredients.
Yes, we'll
Here.
talk about the coconut rice. And we have the basmati rice here. It's if you're just starting, if you're new to Indian cooking, it's probably better to start off with the basmati rice because easier to cook, but healthier overall would be brown rice. And this doesn't take long to cook, really, really quick. And we have a bag of frozen carrots and peas, and you can use pretty much any vegetables that you like. And then I have curry leaves that I grow on my deck, but this is not, it just adds a little bit more flavor, but if you don't have it, and that's fine. And then I have a little bit of chili powder and cumin and turmeric.
You have
And
cloves in
yes,
there?
and some bay leaves. And then here we have the cardamom powder. And oh, this is nutmeg. I'll have to go get the cloves.
Okay. And so we're going
Yeah,
to,
just a second.
I am going to get some measuring spoons, but you probably don't need measuring spoons, do you? All right, so we do, the cardamom is half a teaspoon.
And we're gonna put that straight into the.
Oh, okay, when we do it.
So we have the cloves. I just buy it from the grocery store, Walmart or Publix. So I have the cardamom powder, the cloves powder. So we're gonna add a little bit of oil, add our bay leaf, add our spices. Be careful not to burn them because if you put it on high heat, the spices burn and then it's bitter and we have to throw it all out. And then I'm going to add the rice, saute it, add the frozen vegetables. And since we're making coconut rice, I'm going to add coconut milk. You can, this is regular, but you can get the light coconut milk. And then we're going to add water, add salt, cover it up, and that's it.
Okay,
Sounds easy.
sounds simple. And then
Yes.
how long does it take to cook?
Usually 10 minutes.
Oh,
You
that's
cover it up, put it on low, and the basmati rice is really easy to cook.
Mhm.
While we wait on this to heat up, let's check on this. As you can see, the oil has started to separate and it's going all over the place. So we're going to add our potatoes and our tofu. And we're going to add some water. I think that should be good. And then we're going to stir it. You see the nice orange color of the curry. That's all from the tomatoes and the spices mixed together.
Mhm.
And that's it. Then we just taste for salt and add a little lemon juice and garnish with cilantro if we want to. And then we just wait for the potatoes to cook. I think we'll add a little bit more water for the potatoes to cook and keep it on medium. And we'll check on this one in just a little bit.
All right, well, I can't believe that was so simple. It's-
And
When I think of cooking Indian food in my kitchen, it's like this big to do,
Oh.
but this was so easy.
And here's, put about a tablespoon of oil
And wow.
and the bay leaf and this and the spices. Wait, this is gonna smell really good. The cardamom and the cloves.
Mm.
You smell it?
Oh,
It
yes.
smells so good. I think the oil's heating up. Add the bay leaf. And the frozen vegetables, it's easier if you have it thawed. So that way, again, cooks faster.
Okay.
All right. You can smell the bay leaf too. Bay leaf with the oil. It just smells really good. Okay, we're gonna add some cloves and a little bit of cardamom, and that's gonna smell really good.
I noticed that you're putting it on the oil.
Yes. I'm gonna turn the heat down because I don't want to burn it. I almost forgot about that. Can you smell it?
Oh, yes. Wow.
And then we add the rice. And so the rice, wash it until the water runs clear. To wash the rice until the water runs clear and soak the rice for about 20 minutes and then drain it. It makes the rice softer when you cook it. Or, yeah, put it back in here. Oh, thank you. And then kind of give it a nice stir all over. If you want to saute the rice just a little bit. We don't want the rice to be, you want it to be soft and tender, but not mushy. So stir frying it helps prevent it from being mushy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought what made that the mushiness had to do with the water you added.
Yeah, it does.
Or it does, but I didn't know this trick.
And
that you-
stir frying it prevents it from breaking up. You want the rice, the grains to be intact.
Okay.
You smell it? It
That's a good
smells
tip.
really good.
Mm.
So that's, I think that we sauteed that pretty well. Now we'll add our vegetables.
And it gets beautiful color.
Oh yes, and you can add pretty much any vegetables that you want. Doesn't have to be peas and carrots, but this is just what I had in the freezer. You can add broccoli. You can add potatoes too. It just takes a little bit longer to cook. And give that a good stir.
Oh, that is beautiful. The colors.
Yes, it looks really nice. And then we'll add our coconut oil. I mean, sorry, coconut milk. Yes. Comes from the same thing, but two different uses.
And so we can easily eat the rainbow with all these colors.
Yes. And then that's mix that.
And so the amount of liquid, you have to account for the coconut milk,
yes.
and the water.
And the water. And then you can add the water. And you want the rice to be a little bit submerged.
Okay.
And then add salt to taste. We'll taste it in a bit and see if that's enough or not. And a little bit of lemon juice. And that's it.
So I like that tip also of having the rice just a little submerged.
Mm-hmm.
That will save me having to measure out the liquid.
Yeah. I mean, there is a measurement, but I just go by, okay, it's submerged and then the rice comes to the top and then you just, you keep it covered and keep it on low and it'll be done.
All right.
So we'll check that. So this looks like potatoes take some time to cook. It's not ready. And if you want to, you can always add peas and whatever other vegetables you want in your potatoes and tofus and the tofu curry.
Okay.
And now we can move on to our next recipe.
And so the next recipe is going to be the dal.
Yes, the lentils. We have already made the lentils.
Should I bring them?
Yes.
So we use the Instant Pot or a pressure cooker to make this.
So I have the red lentils, and you can use this is the red Indian lentils, but you can use brown lentils too. And wash it till the water runs clear. Then put it to your Instant Pot. I use 2 cups for this. You can add 3 cups of water. Add a little bit of turmeric, salt, and put it in the Instant Pot for 15 minutes on high pressure. And this is what you get. And so while you're cooking that, you can do your seasoning. So this is going to be a tomato spinach dal. So we're going to saute, add a little bit of oil, and these are mustard seeds. You can buy that at the Indian store. You add a few of them to the oil. And again, the curry leaves, we're going to add some curry leaves to after we add the mustard seeds, we'll add the curry leaves. When that's done, we add the onions and garlic. When that's sauteed, the onions, you always wait for it to be translucent. When that's done, we'll add our tomatoes and our spices. And that would be, we did chili powder, coriander, turmeric, cumin, and that to the onion and tomato garlic mixture. And when that's cooked down, the tomatoes are cooked down, then we add the spinach and add a little bit of salt because we've already added salt in the dal.
Mhm.
And when that's done, you've sauteed it all together, put the seasonings into your dal, and that's it.
Sounds so easy. Again, another simple recipe.
Recipe. And you can always garnish everything with cilantro if you like cilantro. A lot of people don't.
All right, so we get a pot started for
Yes.
sauteing this.
All right, we'll use, and I use olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A lot of the good monounsaturated fats.
And if you want to avoid oil, you can saute that in water.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can always use water.
And I tried that, and it's, I mean, there's maybe a little bit of difference in
Mhm,
taste. The spices kind of make up for
Mhm.
the lack of oil, I feel like.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. So if you're trying to watch the fats and not use oil, just saute it in water, and with all the spices, you won't be
That's
able to
about
tell
it,
the
Vicky.
difference. Now, one interesting thing about lentils, I love the smell of lentils, actually. It just smells so wholesome. But lentils are actually higher in protein than other beans. They're higher in protein than pinto beans or black beans or even chickpeas. So it's a very, very nutritious legume.
Yep, our oil is hot, so I'm going to add a little bit of 1/4 teaspoon, no real measurements. Add that to the pan, and you can hear it spluttering around.
I have never used
Mustard seed.
mustard seeds like that.
Well, the Bible talks about having faith like that of a mustard seed.
Let's try it over there. So they could probably see it here.
Oh, which one's easier to show? Here, can you see it? See how small it is?
Wow.
Maybe here.
So we got the spiritual lesson here.
Really small. It's a mustard seed. The faith of a mustard seed.
And so does the taste using the mustard seed instead of just
I don't know if it
brown
really
mustard?
alters it. I grew up watching my mom cook, so she uses it, but I have made it without it.
Okay.
And I don't really think it alters the taste a whole lot. That's the curry leaves. And that,
Oh, I
can you
smell
smell
it.
it?
Yeah.
that smells really good.
That's something new to me too. I've never seen curry leaves like that. We went and picked the curry leaves from her garden.
Yes, they grow pretty well in the summer. In the winter, we have to bring it inside. Tropical plant. And here I've added the onions and the garlic. So let that saute for a few minutes. And again, if you can see the onion and garlic, there's no ginger in here, but the base is onion and garlic and tomatoes again.
Mm-hmm.
So the tomato is what gives you the gravy or the sauce.
The sauce.
Mhm.
Okay.
And you can pretty much use the same base that I use for the tofu and potatoes and make okra
Mm-hmm.
or just a frozen bag of vegetables, put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can just use that base and make pretty much anything you want. And those are standard things that you find in a regular grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another thing that you think when you're thinking of cooking Indian food or any other ethnic type of food, that you have to go to a specialty store to get the ingredients. But most of this is you can find anywhere. It's just a few things like the ginger paste,
Mm-hmm. The ginger garlic.
ginger garlic paste.
Mhm. You can find garlic paste at Walmart.
Yeah.
And so you just
And
have
And you can find
And
ginger
ginger
paste
paste.
too.
So just mix it
Just
together.
mix them together.
And if you don't have mustard seeds or curry leaves, you're fine without it.
So those are optional.
Optional. And that's getting sauteed, and our rice is halfway there. Another minute, and we'll add our tomatoes.
Okay.
Check on our potatoes. You can see they're boiling well. And I like the potatoes really, really tender. How about you?
Yes, yeah, me too. And the kids, of course, we have kids
Mhm.
and they would prefer the tender. All
And
right.
Turn it up. We'll add the tomatoes. The really juicy tomatoes. I'll let that-
So is that all one variety of tomatoes that you have in your garden, or have we used?
we use different
kinds?
varieties.
Okay.
I didn't use the yellow, but these are the Roma and the beef steak and something else.
Mystery tomato.
Yeah, mystery tomatoes. Don't know the name, but they taste good. So let's try the potatoes. I think it needs a
Still,
little bit more
yeah.
time. So usually while I wait on the potatoes to cook or this to saute, I start cleaning up. So the
Ah.
whole cooking
yes.
process doesn't take a long time.
Now, you told me that you had tried this, about the same menu for your family, and that you timed it
Yes.
from beginning. We can talk here to
Yes.
this camera. You timed it from beginning to end, chopping everything, and even to cleaning everything up. And
Yeah.
how long did it take you?
An hour and a half to chop everything up, cook it, and clean and do the dishes.
Yeah. And that was all these recipes. So.
Pretty much all of these, except I think I had instead of the salad I did a garbanzo bean curry,
Mhm. Okay.
so which would have actually taken more time because it's not a salad.
Yeah. Right. But I think that's really good to be in the kitchen just that amount of time from beginning to end with all of these recipes. Delicious Indian food. I think that's a record.
Well, it's the shortcuts that helps.
That's what we need to learn, those shortcuts.
And if you don't like it spicy, you can just cut down and I don't usually make and none of these are really spicy because of my kids.
Oh,
But if you really wanted to cut down the spice, you can just cut down on the ginger garlic paste and cut down on the chili powder because the
Okay.
ginger garlic paste does give it
a little
kick.
kick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we'll add our spices for the dal. As you can see,
Is it these that are here?
Yes.
Or
And I have made this with instead of spinach and tomatoes, I've done it with butternut squash in the fall, and that's really tasty too.
yes.
And I just added the butternut squash to the lentils when I put it in the Instant Pot.
Okay.
And then the only difference in the seasoning is I don't add the tomatoes. And some you can add the spinach. Because spinach does go with the butternut squash. But I don't add the tomatoes. I just season with the mustard seeds, the curry leaf, onion, garlic, and that's it. And then pour it back into the dal and butternut squash combination.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Okay, our rice is doing good. Oh, add the spices. And we'll add the spinach.
Do you add it now?
Yeah, in just a couple of minutes. I'm just waiting for the spices to get mixed in. we used a cup of spinach or maybe a cup and a half. You can use as much or as little as you want. And for me, this is an easy way to get my kids to eat the greens. So I usually do more than a cup.
Oh, they cook so small, you
Yes.
know,
You can't even tell it's in there.
right?
So this is a good recipe to hide your greens.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe just a tiny bit of salt to it, because we've already added salt to the dal.
Mhm.
And it's recommended that you don't open the lid while you're
Yes, I
cooking
heard
it,
that.
but I'm anxious to see if the rice is cooking, so I've opened it a couple of times.
Does that just delay the cooking
Yeah,
process, or
I-
does it interfere with
I'm not
something?
sure, maybe delays it, or see, a real cook wouldn't do that. But I do it, so
I know,
I don't know if that's taken.
my mom, she cooks Puerto Rican food,
Mhm.
and she has warned me, never open that pot. I'm like curious to know what happens if you open the pot.
Is that for rice?
Yes.
Okay, we're almost done. Let's check on our
Potatoes.
potatoes.
You want?
Yes, go ahead. That's the
No,
tofu.
that's a tofu. Here's more potato.
Oh, it looks like it.
I don't know. It's kind of
All,
firm to me still.
No.
It's good.
yeah, it's getting mashed up. So if we just leave it covered up.
Okay.
And, do you want to taste the salt? See if
Yes.
it's- Maybe here, let me give you, where's our spoon for that? Oh, here. As you can see, this gravy is very rich.
It's thickened,
Yes.
and part of what thickens it is the cashews.
Yes, the cashews.
Should I use this?
Yes, or
or-
here's the spoon. I have a spoon for you. Well, it's kind of small.
It's a tasting spoon. Look, how cute. I have some of these at home, but they were for when my kids were little. But now I know I can use it as a
But you
tasting.
Let's see if we need more salt.
We might need a little more salt.
Okay.
I think, but maybe you should taste it because you know what it's supposed to taste like. But it does have a kick. It's delicious.
Okay, I think our dal, the mixture is done. So we're going to transfer this to our cooked dal. So all I'm going to do is just add it to that. Here and mix it up. And that's it. And we'll do the tasting, see if we need more salt or. Oh. You see you see how colorful it is, the yellow dal with the red tomatoes and the green spinach.
I can put it there.
And I will taste. Here. Oh, that's good.
Was it
Everything
good
to-
of salt?
A little bit more. Everything today needs just a tiny bit more salt.
And of course, that's to taste. So if you're watching your salt, you don't have to use as much salt.
Exactly. That's good. Okay, so that's done.
Right. Okay. And that should be about
Yeah, that should be about done.
finished.
Okay, so should we start working on our salad?
Oh, yes, we have you call that Indian coleslaw.
Yes, and we have the purple cabbage. I'm
Mm,
going to wash my hands because we're gonna mix it up with using our.
We're gonna use our hands, okay. And so I noticed that your recipe said either green or purple cabbage.
Yes, green or purple, you can use either one.
And I like that we're doing the purple cabbage because it's actually much more nutritious than the green. And they are all both nutritious, but the purple one is higher in a lot of vitamins. And of course, you know, the richer the color, the more antioxidants it's going to have and phytochemicals.
Mhm.
So if you have to choose between the two, I think this was a
And
good choice.
yes, very colorful, very attractive.
Mhm.
So we have the purple cabbage, and then I have half of a red onion diced with 1 jalapeno. You don't, if you don't like it hot, you can cut down the onion and avoid the jalapenos. And these are de-seeded. We're gonna add that, and I have the frozen shredded coconut that I get from the Indian store in the frozen section. So just grated coconut that they freeze. Add a little bit of that, or 1/4 cup.
So it's important that that's not the coconut, shredded coconut you buy like
Not
at
the sweetened-
Walmart.
No, this the fresh grated coconut that you find in the Indian store.
Yes.
And you add some lemon juice, and that's to taste, and some salt to taste again. Cilantro, if you don't like it, skip it.
It gives it a nice color.
It does, the purple and the green and the white. I'm gonna use
Mhm.
my hands, they're clean. I'm just gonna mix it up. And if you like peanuts, no peanut allergies, then you can add some roasted peanuts to the, once you're done mixing it up, you can add some roasted peanuts to the top of it.
It smells so good too.
Yes. And it's especially in the summer, it's a fresh, crunchy salad, very fresh.
And so easy.
So easy to make. It's just chopping up the cabbage, and Hilda-Lisa chopped it up really nice and fine.
I had a good teacher.
No. Okay, and that's it.
That's
And
it.
we'll taste it. Wash my hands. Spoon.
All right.
We have some spoons. And let's see if we need our salt.
It's very good and crunchy,
Mhm.
refreshing.
Very refreshing.
You can probably hear the crunch in the mic. I don't know.
Checking on the rice. It looks like the rice is done. And as you can see, the grain stayed intact. So you can see the
Yeah.
grains stayed intact. They're not broken up.
And it's very loose. It's not mushy.
Mushy at all. I'll take a little bit to taste in here. And we'll check on the potatoes. I think the potatoes should be done. You want to check on it, Hilda-Lisa? Can you just
Probably. I'm probably gonna put it. Oops. Thank you.
come.
Oh yes, they're very tender. Potatoes are very tender. You can see that.
And our rice needs a little bit of salt. Again, you don't, if you're watching your salt, you don't need to add it because you're going to be eating it with the curries that have enough salt. As you can see, the colors and the smell.
Beautiful.
That's done. The potatoes are done.
So we have our tofu curry done. Our coconut rice is done.
Mhm.
Our dal is done. And our coleslaw is done. We should go ahead and
Plate it.
plate it up.
And the plating is the best part because I love to see it come together in the colors.
Yes.
Here.
Oh, it smells so good. You want me to tilt it?
Sure, it's heavy. Watch out, it doesn't get on you. Curries are great, but it can stain. That's the yellow powder. That's a culprit for staining.
Mhm.
And we'll garnish it with some.
Cilantro. This looks amazing.
And there you have it. You have your coconut rice with vegetables. You have your cabbage, the Indian coleslaw, cabbage salad. You have your spinach, tomato, and lentils dal, and tofu and potato curry.
Wow. Beautiful.
Oh, I'm glad it came out.
Your
I'm glad-
family is very lucky.
Oh, you were so kind. I'm glad we didn't burn anything today.
Well, that is amazing.
We can take some questions. I think there was something else I forgot to tell you about the purple cabbage,
Uh-huh.
is that it has 10 times the amount of vitamin A as the green cabbage
Oh,
and twice as much iron. So purple cabbage is the way to go.
for sure.
Mhm,
10 times.
mhm.
Wow.
Of course, green cabbage is healthy too, but if you can choose,
Yes. And look at how pretty it looks. And the color really makes a big difference.
mhm. Yeah. So
All
any
right.
questions?
Well, thank you all. I suspect that it would take me a lot longer than 45 minutes to make these 4 dishes. And Edwin, I'll let you relay that to the team.
Yeah.
I think we're checking the chat.
You buy a particular brand of garam masala or make your own? Well, my mom makes her own and she gives me the garam masala. But so I haven't bought, I don't have a brand that I use. I just, whenever she makes it once a year and she gives me a mason jar full of it.
So now I know that's something you can buy like at Walmart.
Mhm.
I've seen it. So it's not hard to find.
No, it's not.
But is there a difference in, I know you don't use any specific brand, but would there be a difference in taste
Well,
from
I mean,
one brand to another?
I don't think so. I mean, homemade is always the best because you are grinding, you're roasting the coriander, roasting the chili, all that at home and grinding it up.
Okay.
So if you can't make it at home, it's just buy pretty much any brand. I don't have any recommendation for a particular brand.
So to make it at home, I don't know about that process, but is it a big process?
Well, I have never made it. We get it from my mom. So she usually roasts the cardamom, the cinnamon, the cloves, the coriander, the red dried chilies, and the cumin seed and fennel seeds. And then after she roasts them, she just grinds it up into a powder.
Okay, and she makes enough to last
A whole year or
a
more.
whole year. Okay, so friends, you just need to find an Indian friend, get her the ingredients, and just
You can look online, but it's just so much easier to buy it in the store. But so when you see the list of ingredients that you need to
Oh,
make it,
wow.
it's like, oh, it's probably easier to just buy it.
right. That's a good question. Anything
Well, I don't
else?
think we have any more questions, so we will wrap up for tonight. Thank you, Hilda, Lisa, and Betty for walking us
thank
through
you.
these delicious
Thanks for
recipes.
watching. This was
Yes.
fun.
It
It was
fun.
cooking with friends.
Yes, it was a lot of fun.
It was Betty cooking with a friend watching.
And all of
I
these
learned a lot.